Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2,
3. What's up, Las Vegas? Happy Friday. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us. Busy week, baby. Busy week. Are you caucusing? That's right. Tomorrow we're going to find out who wins. We'll get into that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Amber Athey is the Washington editor for The Spectator. She's going to be talking to us about the debate. She's also covered the Roger Stone case. We'll get into all that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Also coming up, new information now and details. Remember, we covered the Rush Limbaugh situation when he was talking about Pete Buttigieg, about being a homosexual, and apparently Donald Trump had a personal conversation with Rush Limbaugh, who spoke about it on his show. Trump telling him not to apologize for his comments. Pete Buttigieg now responding to it again on the Ellen DeGeneres show. He did earlier in the week, talking about that. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. Also, back by popular demand, ladies and gentlemen, it will be time to play Vegas Take Jeopardy. Last time we played Vegas Take Jeopardy, it was fun. It was a good time, things that Rush Limbaugh has said in his career. But today, it'll be who said it first, Bloomberg or Trump. That will be the Jeopardy theme today. And, of course, our producer, Alex Trebek, will be guest hosting that today. Mr. X, the Hollywood conservative, will be joining us in hour number 3. Oh, plenty to get to with him, including an update on the Harvey Weinstein trial. We could possibly get a verdict at any point during the show today, and trust me, when it does come out, we will be discussing it. We will be talking about it. I hope that son of a bitch gets life in prison. I really do. Also, I never knew about Steven Spielberg's daughter being a porn star. It's a sad story, though, and the reason why it's sad is because she's been open and honest about how she was abused sexually when she was a child. And, you know, I'm not saying that every porn star out there had to be sexually abused, but when you're the daughter of, let's be honest, Spielberg's probably a billionaire. When you're the daughter of a man like that and you decide to get into the porn business, she's obviously not getting into it for the money. It seemed a little weird to me, and now we're learning why. So
adopted, right?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But, all the money in the world. Yeah. Steven Spielberg's got all the money in the world, so we'll talk about that. Also, Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports will be joining us in hour number 3. Now, as you know, this has been caucus week, and it's not easy getting, some of these presidential candidates to do one-on-one interviews. It's not an easy thing to do. It's difficult. But I know that our producer, Jason Stein, has been working tirelessly to try to get some of these candidates to come on our show this week. How has that been going, Mr. Stein?
Well, I normally don't like to publicize my failures, but in this case, I don't think it's my fault. So I am going to talk about it. Because I think that our...
Do we have a violin we could play in the background?
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah. Do we have a violin that we could play?
Steven, sad music, please. Because it really is sad.
Do we have a violin?
Here's why I'm doing this. Mainly, I want listeners to know, because people, listen, they're driving around, they're going to work, they have real jobs, unlike us.
Right.
And families, unlike us. And I think they'll never have to deal with the shenanigans that we have to deal with. They have other, more important things to do. But we deal with these shenanigans, and I want people to know, I want them to know what it's like to be a talk radio producer during political season.
Please go on.
Let's start with Pete Buttigieg. I thought he would be a very interesting person to have on the show. So 5 months ago in September, I reached out to his national campaign team.
Oh, no, this is very sad.
And I said, hello, my name is Jason Stein. I'm a producer with the Vegas Take. We have this great radio show in town. And the caucuses are going to be held in February. There's going to be a big debate here. And I know it's 5 months early, but I just want to introduce myself and maybe lay the groundwork for getting candidate Pete Buttigieg on the show at some point.
Hold on a second. I need a tissue. I'm getting a little choked up. We can turn the music off now. I'm getting the music's really. Thank you, Stephen. The music's really starting to get to me a little bit. I'm getting a little choked up.
It was actually helping me.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. So I said to the Buttigieg people, we'd love to get him in as it gets closer to caucus time, but we'll take him anytime. I mean, in studio, on the phone, whatever. We'd love to have Pete Buttigieg in. And they said, yeah, I think that's very doable. We'd love to do that. And then about a month later, his Nevada state director, communications director, whatever she is, came in here to visit. Remember, she came by the studio. She wanted to make sure, because these people, I told you, they're very cautious. They don't want to put their candidate on a outlet that's going to ambush them and make them look bad. Everything is about appearances. So she wanted to come in and she wanted to meet Brian and JD and me and see the studio and listen to a little bit of our show. We actually had Dina Titus on that day, our Democrat, which was perfect timing because she heard the interview and said, oh, you guys are really fair. You're fair to Democrats. You're fair to Republicans.
We had Donald Trump's communications director on yesterday.
That's right.
I asked him the difficult questions, but I was very fair to him. We are always fair to our guests, and I am always respectful to my guests, so long as they are respectful to me. And he was very respectful to our show, and we had a great interview, and I'm very confident he will come on again. I interview more Republicans than Democrats.
Oh, we definitely put more conservatives on this show.
So now, if somebody calls into the show and they say something racist, or they accuse me of something that I didn't say or do, or I, like, for example, if somebody calls up and, if I'm saying something negative about Trump and I back up my opinions with, I always do, and they call up and say, well, where were you with Obama? Where were you? Blah, blah, blah. I can't stand it.
Or if they call you a libtard.
I can't stand it when people do that because they're ignorant.
Because they don't want to have a conversation. They just want to attack you.
So that is when I attack them.
We're all about dialogue here.
Exactly. Go ahead, Stein. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting.
And I'm sorry for interrupting you, Brian. So where was I? Oh, yeah. So the Buttigieg chick comes in here, and
when you say Buttigieg chick, she was in the campaign.
She is. So here's how it basically works in a nutshell. You contact the national campaign.
Yes.
And you tell them where you're from, and they say, okay, I'm going to put you in touch with the state people. Mm-hmm. The state people are the ones you need to talk to. So this woman is the communications director for Pete in Nevada.
Right.
Perfect person to be talking to.
Gotcha.
Her job, as I understand it, I'm a political science major, but I graduated college 20 years ago, and it's been a while, so my brain's a little fuzzy. But my understanding is a communications person, their job is to get favorable press for their candidate.
Yeah.
Is to get them on as many outlets as possible.
And she didn't do that.
Well, do you see Pete Buttigieg here?
He's not here. No.
So anyway, 5 months of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. It's going to happen. Pete Buttigieg, it's going to happen closer to the caucus. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And here we are this week, debate week, 3 days to go till the caucus, and they offer me some congressman from the East Coast that no one's ever heard of. Yeah. Well, we got this great congressman to come on. He's a great advocate for Pete. I think you'll really enjoy interviewing him. And
what was their reason for not being able to get us Pete for 10 minutes on the phone at any point this week? Did they give you a reason?
No reason.
Well, let me just say this.
Just so that I mean, is it incompetence?
Let me just say this.
Is it?
I think you got. This is my opinion on this.
Is it stupidity?
I've been covering news and politics for 20 years. The problem
what do they do? The communications director, what is their job if they can't get someone on a local radio show?
I think the problem is the person you were talking to, who is the Nevada campaign manager for Buttigieg, has literally probably no authority.
Then why do they exist?
Just so, they can say they have a job, I guess. I don't know. But the problem is you're dealing with a lot of these millennials, people that are in their 20s who have just a little bit of power. And they abuse that power to an extent, and it gives them an ego. They don't understand how this stuff works. They don't understand that when you're talking to middle America, when you're talking to people that are in the middle, not necessarily just Democrats, people even that are on the right, and you go on a show like this, it could absolutely help your campaign. It's not going to hurt your campaign.
We have a lot of independents. I always make that point, is that our audience is full of politically independent people, and they can vote in the caucus.
So what do they do? I think Booker is a perfect example of that. When we tried to get Booker on the show, and he goes on the Wendy Williams show and some of these other national shows, didn't do any local radio here, and then boom, he's out of it because he wasn't even getting 1%.
Kamala Harris.
Another perfect example where Harris was supposed to come on our show, and she backed out last second. How did that work out for her campaign? I'm not saying these candidates have to be on our show and they absolutely need us, but I don't think it would hurt their campaign, and it's good to speak to the local voters out there. Now, again, you're dealing with millennials. Buttigieg, I'm not going to blame him because I don't think it's his fault. And I truly believe if somebody went up to him yesterday and said, hey, we got this local radio show here in Las Vegas. Can we do 10 minutes on the phone? I am very confident he would say yes because he's the kind of guy that goes on Fox News. He'll go on anywhere.
He would do it.
Right. But you got a lot of incompetent people that don't understand how this stuff works. They think just because they've worked on some campaigns, they understand how the media works. Guess what? They don't. And one thing Donald Trump is good at is he is very good at manipulating the media, and he does a bunch of interviews, and he knows how to manipulate the media. These Democrats, I am so frustrated with them. First of all, they don't even know who the hell they want to win. The Democratic Party, they don't even know who they're supposed to support. They can't even get a caucus right. And you think you're going to beat Donald Trump? The Democratic Party is a mess right now.
It is. Isn't this kind of – and that's an excellent point, Brian. What I'm describing here, where you can't even get – by the way – if you saw the odds, for it's a kind of a fun bookmaker thing that they did. You can't really bet on it, but it shows, and it's probably consistent with the polls too, Brian, is that Bernie's probably going to win the Nevada caucus or Joe Biden, but it's going to be very close. That's probably the 1-2. And then Buttigieg is way down there. So you would think that you'd want to come on and help your chances, right?
Well, you know what? After we see the caucus results, and I have a funny feeling that Biden's going to have a good result in Nevada. I think he's going to finish second. I would not be surprised if Elizabeth Warren finished ahead of Buttigieg either. She had a pretty good debate the other night. If that does happen, glad to talk about it on the air.
Well, if these candidates continue to shun the local news outlets, then it's a microcosm of the whole election 2020. And look, Trump's team is playing the game much better. Now, I just want to give credit real quick to the Biden people. They did get us Jill Biden. We had her on last Friday, and that was great.
Mm-hmm. And they've at least contacted you.
And they've been very good about getting in touch with me, and they're doing their best. But, man, some of these campaigns, Brian, I mean, it's awful. Frustrating. It's very frustrating.
They're awful. It's a joke. And, there's many of these people that are not very good at their job. And that's unfortunate. There's never an excuse not to get back to somebody. I can't imagine Amy Klobuchar is getting 100 interview requests in Nevada every day. I can't imagine that Pete Buttigieg. Now, yeah, I'm sure there's some national outlets that want to speak to him. We're talking about the Nevada caucus, which is tomorrow. Okay? Yeah. Do a couple local interviews. I haven't seen him on any local TV either.
No, I haven't. Let me ask you this. Let's say you work on one of those campaigns, but on the national level. Let's say you work for Amy Klobuchar or Pete Buttigieg or one of the people that is a little bit lower in the polls in Nevada that really needs a boost to keep their momentum going. And you come in third or fourth or fifth place in Nevada. And you go to your state people and you say, what happened? Well,
right.
We came in fourth place. Why didn't you do your job?
Maybe because you were doing all these...
What do you say if you're that state person?
You were doing all these... Here's the problem.
Why didn't you get us on local radio? Why didn't you get us on...
Here's the problem.
What's that conversation going to be like?
I'll tell you what the issue is. They're doing these fundraisers, right, for their campaign, and then they're doing these speeches. They're going around making speeches where you're maybe meeting a couple hundred people, at these and they're shaking hands and taking pictures, and maybe the local news covers it, and they show a couple tidbits of a clip of what you said, maybe a 10-second soundbite. That doesn't do justice. When you go on a TV show or a radio show, you do 20 to 25 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, and you get to actually hear that person speak, whereas those that were not at that event, they don't get to see that. That's why I think it is a strategic mistake. You go around, you do all these fundraisers, everything. How difficult would it be to just give one of these candidates the phone and say, hey, after lunch or before lunch, after breakfast, here you go. Can you talk to this show for 10 minutes on the phone? It's not difficult to do. The thing is, they're not even going that far. They're not even asking the candidate. It's probably, it might not even getting to the campaign manager. At best case scenario, the local Nevada campaign manager to Pete Buttigieg might have, and by the way, I'm not so confident she did, might have said to the campaign manager, hey, what do you think about this local radio? And maybe the manager said, no, we're not doing that because he's an idiot. Because he's an idiot. They're idiots. That's what it comes down to. The people that are running some of these campaigns are morons. And the people that are running the Democratic Party right now are morons. They don't even know who they want to win. They have no idea. The guy that is the front runner isn't even a Democrat. He's a socialist.
Right.
It makes no sense to me. It's absurd. And then they wonder why they're going to lose to Donald Trump in 2020. They have their heads up their asses, these people. That's what's going on.
If I'm getting paid to be the communications director for Nevada, I'm doing everything in my power to get these guys on the air on not just the Vegas Take, other radio stations in town, the music stations, the TV stations, the newspapers.
Listen, it's not that
anything I can do, because you know what? There may be a few percentage points that separate fifth from fourth and fourth from third and third from second place. It might come down to a few thousand votes. And who knows, with doing all that local media, if you change people's opinions, because a lot of people don't know who they're going to vote for yet. They make up their minds at the last minute.
I don't know.
And
I still don't know.
You know, it's very important that these early states that you have a good showing, because then with the good showing, you get good publicity and you get momentum going into the next stage.
It's funny because
I think it's a very crucial thing.
It's funny because I see some of these people on social media who have absolutely no idea how the radio business works, and they'll say, well, why don't you do an interview with Sean Hannity? Why don't you do an interview with Donald Trump? They think all we got to do is pick up the phone and ask somebody, and they'll just come on. That's not how this works. You know, that is not how this works. And it's pretty simple to me. And I think they're making a very big mistake. Many of these campaign managers, I think a lot of them are completely and utterly useless with zero power. I'm telling you.
Well, thank you for letting me vent.
No problem. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, why is Devin Nunes talking about Donald Trump naked? Well, we'll explain why coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.